This is a person who put his thumb on the scales of history and tipped it. And I think that's why everybody, I mean, it's just tragic what happened here.
That was the United States ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, shortly after former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was killed. We're back with Victor Cha, Ben Rhodes, and Michael Steele. Michael Steele, almost instantly, one of the most notable things about this horrific political assassination was what Ben pointed out, that gun violence in Japan is so extremely rare. I'll put up some numbers for our viewers who may not know. Let's see, in 2021, in Japan, there were 10 shootings and 1 death. In America, there were 692 shootings and 20,944 deaths.
Yeah, stark numbers. Very different cultures around guns and the ideology and philosophy around guns. Ours is baked into a constitution. Japanese do not have that as part of their governing or philosophical orientation. So, I think people need to be very careful sort of comparing the U.S. to Japan when it comes to something like this in a stark, top line sense. I think, though, what it does speak to beneath that is the culture and the sense of the times that we're in, that political disputes are acted out and result in violence, that political disagreements, this individual claimed to have a problem with a group that the prime minister was associated with. It sounds like not even directly with him, but with the fact that he may have been associated with some group. That speaks to a broader problem that we've seen not just here in the U.S., but across Europe and Asia, that governments are going to have to come to terms with what's feeding this particular underbelly that would lead to this kind of violence. Because I was reading a few other things today, Nicole, as I'm sure you have too, there are concerns out there that there's more political violence to come. For example, our Secret Service has been very concerned about this for some time. So I think that, we definitely are shaken and taken aback by the starkness of this event, given the nature of Japan, specifically with respect to gun violence. But in one sense, we also need to appreciate that this could be the tip of a spear that could really hurt us big time in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, Ben, Michael Steele is appropriately pointing the parallel to the specter of political violence, which if you go back to what we talk about many days on this show, hang Mike Pence being the mission statement of the Trump-Pence voters on January 6th. Is there, in the global security community, rising concern about the threats or the talk or chatter about political violence?
Oh, you bet there is, Nicole. I mean, I have to say, to be honest, I've been surprised that there hasn't been more political violence in years.
Wow.
There's been this normalization of rhetoric, violent in nature, and analyzed at leaders. And social media kind of turbocharges that. And you have people living in these information ecosystems that dehumanize opponents. At what point does that kind of balance online?
We're going to try to improve Ben Rhodes' connection here. Ben, you're coming in and out of us. I'm going to give Victor the last word, and we're going to try to fix your connection to us. Victor, what should we sort of understand about the churn that Michael and Ben are talking about inside Japanese politics? Is there sort of political discontent and the same kind of heated debates around policy and politics there that we have here?
There's clearly political polarization, not just in the United States, but in many democracies around the world today. In this particular case, Abe had been supported by some sort of very far right-wing groups, although he himself didn't really push policies that were strongly in that direction. He basically moved the left of center national security debate to the moderates or to the right of center, and this was one lone individual. So I wouldn't paint it that way in Japan. But what is amazing about this Japan case is, this is a former prime minister who was just going out on the street and campaigning for these upper house elections that they have coming up in a couple of days. And former prime ministers don't walk around with a lot of security in Japan. I've met them in coffee shops and hotels where they show up by themselves, and that just reflected broadly, as Ben said, the public safety that there was in Japan. I mean, police officers in Japan don't walk around with firearms. They're stored in the police box, but they don't carry them around. So it's just a really tragic thing, and for Japan, the United States, and the world.
Victor Cha, Michael Steele, thank you so much for being part of our coverage today. Ben Rhodes sticks around until the next hour. We're keeping a close eye on the room where Trump White House counsel Pat Cipollone has been testifying all day long, we believe, before the January 6th Select Committee. It's been 7 hours and counting. You can see him here heading into a sidebar meeting that he had with his attorneys earlier. Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren and a member of the committee will join us in the next hour, but only if she's done, only if Cipollone's interview has wrapped up. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.